Hi, Miss Briggs. I am going to start my speech right now. With the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the spring of 2020, the world shut down. Our economy came to a complete halt. That halt affecting us even today in the United States. The economic shutdown was so massive, in fact, that the stock markets had to be shut down, factories were closed, and production halted, wages halted, all economic circulation halted. That is the effect. That is what happened a year ago with the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's still affecting us today, which is a crucial point for you as a judge to keep in mind throughout my speech. Now, the question I'm answering today is, to what degree is the Biden administration at fault for the current economic struggles of the United States? And to best answer this question, first, I'll be talking to you about what currently ails the U.S. economy and what our current economic issues are. And secondly, I'll be talking to you about what the Biden administration has actually done to fix those issues and to address those issues since Biden has been in office. And lastly, I'll be telling you why it is no fault of Biden's at all, the current economic struggles of the United States. Now, to start off on my first point, which is specifically, what are the struggles of the contemporary U.S. economy? And according to a New York Times article published on September 27th, 2021, we can see that the biggest issue with the U.S. economy post-COVID at the place where we are now is production. With that halt in production, while there was still a year ago, during COVID, the issue was that there was no production and people weren't getting paid wages. The government addressed the wage issue by giving people stimulus checks and shutting down the need for tenants to pay their rent for multiple months. However, the government couldn't have addressed the production issue, which is this idea that people are still making money, and now there's a bunch of money in the economy, but production was halted for all of that time. And so production is extremely backed up, people can't spend their money, and people don't have the goods that they need. And this article specifically highlights that things like breakers for cars and car production manufacturing, as well as household appliance and manufacturing, are all months behind track. And that is a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But because people were still making money and gaining wages, there's a high demand and not a lot of supply. And that issue is trying to be addressed by the Biden administration, but the Biden administration seems to be more interested in creating jobs as opposed to working on a supply chain getting back in order. Now, when we look at my second main point, which is what has the Biden administration actually done since entering office in 2021, we can see two major facets of Biden's economic plan. The first of which, the American Jobs Plan. The American Jobs Plan, released by the White House earlier this year in the spring, and shows that the Biden administration wants to dedicate trillions of dollars towards creating infrastructure. Infrastructure from government, new government buildings, new government facilities, dams, and increase in energy production from the United States locally, investments in green technologies and energy. All of those things compounding into Biden's view of the future, but directly affecting the U.S. economy by creating jobs to build all of those new things. And the Biden administration calls it the American Jobs Plan because that's the number one issue that the Biden administration has been addressing, the fact that there aren't enough jobs. And I put air quotes around that because while it is good to create more jobs, that is, as we saw earlier in my speech, that's not the issue with the U.S. economy. There are jobs, and people need to actually start working and need incentives to work. And with the fact that they were able to increase savings and still make wages during the shutdown means that they don't have a lot of motivation to work right now. And that is an issue that's not being addressed by the Biden administration. However, what the Biden administration is doing isn't hurting the economy or making the situation any worse. Now, the second facet of the Biden administration's economic policy is directly an incentive to create competition within the economy that he released in June. And this executive order is one that designs it so that there can be an increase in competition amongst small businesses and even bigger businesses. When we look at the this bill specifically addresses things like competition contracts, which are things that employees will have to sign when they sign on for, say, AT&T to work in their offices. You have to sign a competition contract, which means you can't work for the competition, which prevents individuals who work for that company from possibly going for higher wage jobs. This bill addresses issues like that. Also issues like how landlords can require that every one of their tenants is under the same Wi-Fi network. Those are the things that want to be addressed, so that way tenants don't have to be under the same Wi-Fi network. All of those issues, again, not really addressing the economic issues left over from the COVID-19 pandemic, however, still benefiting the economy, just not fixing our issues. And that leads us to my final point today, which focuses on why it's not Biden's fault that we are currently struggling. While the Biden administration hasn't directly done anything to actually fix the issues with COVID, which will eventually eradicate themselves with time as people start to work more, the Biden administration hasn't increased those issues at all, creating no bills or executive orders that would negatively impact those effects to worsen. And that is really the reason behind why the Biden administration is not responsible for any of the economic struggles that we are facing today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Briggs, and thank you. I was going to say, like, have a good evening or night, but I don't know when you're watching this. But have a good rest of your day. That's a yes. Bye.